Close your eyes and imagine this. What if Apple had failed? What if the iPhone never became the world's most famous phone? What if, even today, you still carried a Nokia in your pocket? It sounds strange now, but 20 years ago, that was reality. Nokia wasn't just a company, it was the king of phones. At its peak, almost half of all mobile phones in the world were Nokias. From New York to New Delhi, from CEOs in glass towers to kids playing Snake at school, everyone used Nokia. But then, almost overnight, it all ended. A company once worth hundreds of billions collapsed into nothing. How did this happen? Why did the giant that could have beaten Apple fail instead? This is the story of Nokia's rise, its mistake, and its tragic fall. Nokia's story doesn't begin with phones. It began in 1865 in Finland as a paper mill by a river called Nokian Virta. For decades, it made simple things: paper, rubber boots, cables, even gas masks. In the 1960s, Nokia entered electronics. By the 1980s, it was making early mobile phones. And in 1992, Nokia launched the 1011, one of the first mass-produced GSM phones. That was the start of a new era. Then came the classics, the Nokia 3310, known for being indestructible, the Nokia 8210, sleek and stylish, the Communicator series, which looked like mini laptops. In 1998, Nokia overtook Motorola to become the world's biggest phone maker, and it stayed number one for 14 years. At its peak, Nokia was worth more than $300 billion, bigger than Apple, Google, or Microsoft at the time. In Finland, Nokia was more than a company. It was a source of pride. It made up to 25% of the country's entire tax revenue, and around the world, Nokia meant connection. For many, it was the first phone they ever owned, the first call, the first text, the first test of digital freedom. Nokia wasn't just a brand, it was a cultural icon. But why did people love Nokia so much? First, durability. The Nokia 3310 was nearly impossible to break. People joked that if you dropped a Nokia, the floor would crack first. Second, battery life. A single charge could last a week. In many countries where electricity wasn't reliable, this was life-changing. Third, simplicity. Big buttons, clear menus, anyone, kids, parents, grandparents could use one. And of course, Snake. That little game became one of the most famous mobile games of all time. Nokia also experimented. The N series had cameras, music, internet. The N-Gage tried to mix phone with gaming. Some ideas failed, but others were ahead of their time. By the mid-2000s, Nokia wasn't just leading, it felt untouchable. But just when Nokia was at its strongest, the world was about to change. In 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and held up a strange device. It had no buttons, just a screen. It was the iPhone. A phone, a music player, and an internet device in one.
Songs, videos, and more. I'm an artist right now. Well, how do I scroll through my list of artists? How do I do this? I just take my finger and I scroll. That's it. Ain't that cool?
Nokia's leaders didn't take it serious. They thought people would never give up buttons. They laughed at Apple's risky design. But Apple wasn't selling just a phone. They were selling the future. Touchscreens, apps, internet on the go. Things Nokia couldn't match. At the time, Nokia was still using Symbian, their old operating system. It was fine for the early 2000s, but compared to Apple's smooth iOS, Symbian looked clunky, confusing, and outdated. Nokia had the hardware, but ignored the importance of software, and that mistake would haunt them forever. If you're still here, I'm guessing you are enjoying this video. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss what is next. Inside the Nokia, success had made the company arrogant. Leaders believed their brand was too strong to fail. Engineers begged the company to modernize, but management refused. Meetings became about politics, not innovation. Meanwhile, Apple and Google were moving at lightning speed. By the time Nokia realized it needed to change, it was already too late. By 2011, Nokia was desperate. They partnered with Microsoft to create Windows phones. The Lumia series looked beautiful, sleek designs, vibrant colors. But the problem wasn't hardware, it was software. Windows Phone had no apps. Meanwhile, Apple and Android exploded. Samsung and others released dozens of models each year. Developers loved Android. Nokia was left behind. By 2013, it was over. Nokia, once worth hundreds of billions, sold its phone division to Microsoft for a fraction of its value. The giant that once connected billions of people was gone. Not because it couldn't innovate, but because it refused to adapt. Nokia's story is more than history. It's a warning. Success is never permanent. Arrogance kills innovation. If you don't adapt, you fall behind. Nokia didn't fail because it was weak. It failed because it thought it was too strong to fail. And that is the lesson. Adapt or die. Nokia once ruled the world, and then it fell. But its story still matters, because history repeats itself. The same thing that happened to Nokia could happen to any company today. So here is the question: who will be the next Nokia? Thanks for watching. If this video grabbed your attention, subscribe and stick around. The next story is just around the corner.